world moves fast. Your workday? Even faster. Pitching products, drafting reports, analyzing data. Microsoft 365 Copilot is your AI assistant for work. Built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and other Microsoft 365 apps you use. Helping you quickly write, analyze, create, and summarize. So you can cut through clutter and clear a path to your best work. Learn more at Microsoft.com/M365 Copilot.
This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience.
Hello and welcome to War Horses, the only college equestrian podcast that is here to celebrate a milestone for the league. I'm your host, Auburn Elvis. Let's talk about some college equestrian. So, first off, we want to go look back in the past and see about all the meets that happened this past week with some meet recaps. First up, let's take a look at UT Martin versus Baylor. This was a neutral site meet. The prediction for this one was UT Martin 12, Baylor 4. At the time, I was like, I don't think that's going to happen that way. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 4-0 for Baylor. Flat went 4-0 for Baylor. Horsemanship went 3-1 for UT Martin. And reining went 3-1 for Baylor. That made the final score Baylor 11, UT Martin 3. So this was almost a complete reversal of what the stats predicted. This is, I don't know, maybe I put the stats in wrong, but darn, this is just, yeah. Anyway, this was a big win for Baylor, a neutral site win, and it kind of shows that in the rankings I've been showing y'all each week that Baylor, some of y'all don't like Baylor at all, and I get it. They don't win a lot, but they win more against good teams than the ECAC teams tend to. So when you see a direct comparison here where Baylor faces off against an ECAC team in a neutral site meet, and Baylor goes to town on them, well, that tells you that, sure, Baylor's not number one in their conference, but they're still pretty good, y'all. For UT Martin, you know, they had a chance on a neutral site. You know, they were hoping, hey, maybe we're as good as one of the lower Big 12 schools. But no, they were not. They did not score enough points, and that's usually the case when you lose. So Baylor's a bigger school, and they got more resources, and, you know, there you go. Next meet to look at, Delaware State at South Carolina. The prediction for this one was South Carolina 17, Delaware State 3. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 5-0 for South Carolina. Flat went 5-0 for Carolina. Horsemanship went 5-0 for Carolina. And reining went 3-2 for Delaware State. That made the final score South Carolina 15, Delaware State 2. All right, so the stats, that's close. 17-3 was the prediction. 15-2 was what we got. So, yeah, there we go. Next meet to look at, Berry College at Sweetbriar. The prediction for this was Sweetbriar 7, Berry 3. Let's see what happened. Fences went 4-1 for Sweetbriar, and the flat went 5-0 for Sweetbriar. That made the final score Sweetbriar 9, Berry 1. So, yeah, big win for Sweetbriar. We kind of expected that. Berry having to go on the road. Nobody's going to beat Sweetbriar at Sweetbriar. So, yeah, there you go. UT Martin at Fresno State. The prediction for this was Fresno State 13, UT Martin 7. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 4-1 for Fresno State. Flat went 5-0 for Fresno State. Horsemanship went 3-2 for Fresno State. And reining went 4-1 for Fresno State. That made the final score Fresno State 16, UT Martin 4. All right, so even a little bit more one-sided than the stats predicted. I talked about this last week. The stats really seem to like UT Martin for some reason. I think some of it is that they do really well when they're in ECAC meets, but then when they go up against some of the bigger schools, they have a little bit of an overinflation in their stats, and we're seeing them sort of averaging out. But again, for the Skyhawks, going on the road is tough anywhere, and so so you have weekends like this sometimes where you just got to take your lumps and move on. Next meet to look at, Texas A&M at Auburn. The prediction for this was Auburn 16, Texas A&M 4. Let's see what really happened. Now, this one was kind of big for Auburn. This was the last meet of the season for them. If they could get this win, then they would finish first in the SEC. They would also retain their number one overall ranking in the NCEA polls. And yeah, I mean, the odds are in their favor. Ain't nobody beaten Auburn at home in years now since SMU did it a couple of years back. So let's see what happened. The day started off with equitation on the flat, and that went 4-1 for Auburn. So right out of the gate, things were looking good. Over in the Western ring, Reining went 3-2 for Auburn. So at halftime, what was that? 7-3 for Auburn. Tigers were in control. Over in the second half, typically the two best events for Auburn were waiting. Horsemanship actually got going a little bit early, and so that one went 3-1 for Auburn. And normally that was actually pretty good for A&M to keep Auburn from getting a sweep there, because Auburn has a pretty strong horsemanship squad, and they only got 3 points. But the big story was over in fences. Auburn got the 5-0 sweep there, and that made the final score Auburn 15, Texas A&M 4. So big day for Auburn. The final score ended up being about what the stats projected, and Auburn's rolling right now. Now that Auburn has finished the regular season, they turn their attention to the SEC tournament, which they are hosting, and we'll see how that goes. But we've got more meets to look at. Berry College at Lynchburg. So the Vikings would make the short drive from Sweetbriar over to Lynchburg. And the projection for this one was Lynchburg 8, Berry 2. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 5-0 for Lynchburg. Flat went 3-2 for Lynchburg. And that made the final score Lynchburg 8, Berry 2. So just as predicted, Lynchburg was outstanding at home. They're another one of these teams that nobody's going to beat them at home. And again, Berry, they got 2 points, and you got to celebrate the small victories. Back over we go to the Palmetto State, South Dakota State at South Carolina. The prediction for this one was South Carolina 14, South Dakota State 6. Let's see what happened. Fences went 5-0 for Carolina. Flat went 4-1 for Carolina. Horsemanship went 4-1 for Carolina, and reining was a 2-2 tie. That made the final score South Carolina 15, South Dakota State 4. All right, so about what was projected. Again, South Carolina is good at home. Other than Auburn, they're the only undefeated team at home in the nation. So, yeah, them and Auburn have been perfect at home, and here again, that continued. For South Dakota State, yeah, it's going to be a big ask to go on the road to beat an SEC team, and that didn't happen, but hey, they got 4 points, and they represented themselves pretty well. But they had to turn right around and ride against Delaware State in a neutral site meet. So, Delaware State versus South Dakota State. The prediction for this was Delaware State 10, South Dakota State 6. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 4-0 for South Dakota State. Flat went 3-1 for South Dakota State. Horsemanship went 3-1 for Delaware State, and reining was a 2-2 tie. That made the final score South Dakota State 9, Delaware State 5. Okay, so the stats were completely wrong on this one. They were another reversal. I don't think I put them in. I don't think I put the stats in backwards on this one. This was just a good day for the Jackrabbits. They showed up well. They were able to get a neutral site victory, which against an ECAC opponent, a conference opponent. Yeah, they look really good. For the Hornets, they were in this one, but just didn't go their way. They really let it get away from them with fences by not getting a single point there. That kind of sealed the meat for them. Continuing on, Oklahoma State at SMU. I've been a little down on Oklahoma State because of their schedule, and then here with this coming up, I basically said, they were probably going to lose this. The stats agreed. Stats thought it would be close. SMU 12, Oklahoma State 8. That's what the projections were. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 5-0 for SMU. Flat went 3-1 for SMU. Horsemanship went 4-1 for SMU, and reining went 2-1 for Oklahoma State. That made the final score SMU 14, Oklahoma State 3. So this was a big win at home for SMU. We kind of expected it. We thought it would be a little closer, but it wasn't. Yeah, Oklahoma State's been having some problems here the last couple of weeks. This is not how you want to end the season, but we've seen them do this in certain years where they haven't had a great season, and then they just totally flip things around when the Big 12 tournament comes around. So they're still the favorite to win that thing. So we'll see how that goes. For right now, SMU, they look good, and they've been looking good every week, even picking up some losses here and there to some good teams on the road. The Mustangs still look good, so keep an eye on them. UT Martin at UC Davis. The prediction for this was UC Davis 11, UT Martin 9.
Instagram teen accounts have automatic protections for what teens see and who can contact them, plus time management tools. and Instagram will continue adding built-in safety features to help create age-appropriate experiences. Learn more about teen accounts and Instagram's ongoing work to protect teens online at instagram.com/teenaccounts.
Let's see what really happened. Fences went 4-1 for UC Davis. Flat went 4-1 for UC Davis. Horsemanship went 3-1 for UT Martin, and reining went 5-0 for UC Davis. That made the final score UC Davis 14, UT Martin 5. So again, the stats, they like the Skyhawks coming into this weekend, but the actual results did not bear that out. Good home win for UC Davis. They are undefeated in ECAC play now, and they're the odds-on favorite to win that conference. For UT Martin, not a great weekend for them. They certainly would have liked to pick up at least one win. They did not do that, but oh well, there you go. Moving right along, Baylor at Fresno State. The prediction for this was Fresno State 15, Baylor 5. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 3-2 for Baylor. Flat went 3-2 for Baylor. Horsemanship went 3-1 for Fresno State, and reining went 4-1 for Fresno State. That made the final score Fresno State 11, Baylor 7. I believe I got that right. Yeah, 7. A little bit closer than what the stats predicted here. Baylor kind of gave them a run for their money on the road, so it looked pretty good. Again, this was a pretty good weekend for Baylor. They got the neutral site win and picked up the road loss. But again, losing on the road isn't too bad. Fresno State, good home win. Gives them something to be excited about heading into the Big 12 tournament. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. Our last meet of the week was Dartmouth at Centenary. The prediction for this was Dartmouth 6, Centenary 4. Let's see what really happened. Fences went 4-1 for Centenary, and Flat went 3-2 for Centenary. That made the final score Centenary 7, Dartmouth 3. All right, so this was a big upset here. We expected Dartmouth to go on the road and pick up a road win that would have catapulted them up near the top of the rankings, but instead the reverse happened. Centenary looked good at home and picked up their first win of the season. This was really big. Now, again, I tell everybody, hey, don't get too excited when you win at home. You're supposed to do that. But Dartmouth is a good team. I think the NCEA rankings have them at number 1. I don't understand why. I have them at like 3 or 4, something like that. But Centenary was last in the rankings and unranked in the NCEA rankings. And this is big, okay? Even though it's a home win, this is a big deal for Centenary. And yeah, good job for the Cyclones. And this is actually, it creates a milestone for the league. This is the first time, I believe, in league history where you have both single discipline and the dual discipline teams. Every team in the league has at least one win. We were close to getting that last year because Centenary, I think, got a win last year and made all of the single discipline teams have at least one win. But we still had Minnesota Crookston over in the dual discipline. They didn't have a win. And, well, if you remember a couple of weeks back, Minnesota Crookston won at a neutral site meet. And so now it was Centenary was the only team without a win in the league this year, and they just picked up a win. So this is the first time, I believe, at least certainly the first time since we've had both dual and single, that we've had everybody has gotten a win. So everyone has had a taste of success. That is great. Good job to everybody. You're all on any given day, you're all winners. So that's awesome. Well, that's a great way to finish the meet recaps. Now let's look at their impact on the official Auburn Elvis College Equestrian rankings. All right, I'll do the dual discipline first. Got a few changes here. Not a lot, but a few. Number 1 is Auburn. The Tigers closed out their season perfect at home. They only have 2 losses. Those are both on the road. And the margin of defeat, their total margin of defeat is 1 point. So out of 2 meets, they only gave up 1 point. So they lost one in a tiebreaker and lost the other by 1 point. So Auburn is head and shoulders better than everybody else right now. Of course, they got to finish it up with some postseason wins, but for right now, for the regular season, Auburn did better than everybody else. They're number 1. Number 2 is South Carolina. Now, South Carolina, the Gamecocks, they don't have quite as prestigious of a road resume as other teams do, but their home resume, they're perfect. Them and Auburn are the only teams that didn't lose at home. We like to reward that, and they're number 2. Number 3 is Georgia. So the Bulldogs, man, if they had not lost at home to Auburn, they'd be number 2 solidly and making a decent case for number 1. But they did lose at home to Auburn. They got swept by Auburn this year. That's not great for Georgia. They don't like that to happen. So they're number 3. Number 4 is SMU. The Mustangs keep rising. They're now at number 4. And again, they picked up, if you remember back in the fall, they had 3 losses in their first 4 meets, something like that. So for them to keep consistently winning, that's a good sign for them. Most of it has come at home because, again, their fall schedule was loaded with road losses. Now they've got a lot of home meets, and they're picking up those wins and looking good. Yeah, they're a dangerous team, and everybody keep an eye on them. Number 5 is Texas A&M. The Aggies are going to stay at about 5. I know the NCEA people have them lower, but I don't understand why. Texas A&M is still pretty good, y'all. They beat Auburn at home. They did get swept by Georgia, but hey, Georgia and Auburn are pretty good. And Texas A&M, they're number 5. All right, number 6, Oklahoma State. They really should be lower, but frankly, they're better than the teams that are lower than them, so this is where they stand, number 6. But frankly, I would move you down if I could. It's just that ain't nobody better than you, so number 6 is what you get. But yeah, they lost at home in their last home meet on senior day. Shouldn't have done that, and then they go on the road and just get blasted by SMU, which again, not a big deal, but not the way they wanted to end the regular season, and especially, I'm going to bring it up one more time, their schedule was not difficult this year, and so they did not look good even with a not great schedule. So yeah, but they look better than the other Big 12 teams, so there you go. All right, number 7 is Fresno State. There's a lot, I don't know, there's some doubt in my mind between who's better, Fresno State or TCU. And depending on just, I don't know, what weekend it is of the season, one is a little bit better than the other. Right now, Fresno State looks better than TCU, but when they get in the tournament, who knows, maybe TCU would beat them. And I think they're going to end up facing off against each other in the Big 12 tournament. So that will be neutral site, and that will tell us definitively who is better between those two teams. Well, I kind of gave it away, but the number 8 team is TCU. Their resume is very similar to Fresno State's, but it's better than any of the other teams, so they get into that 8 spot, which frankly is very important because that's the cutoff between whether or not you would go to Ocala or not. And there's some question marks with TCU, but they're still better than the teams below them, so it would be, it'd be really weird for the NCAA to move a team up into number 8 at the expense of TCU right now. Number 9 is UC Davis. All right, so for weeks and weeks and weeks, I go back and forth on whether or not UC Davis is better than Baylor. It's really between those two. You saw how Baylor did against UT Martin, which is probably the second best team in the ECAC. Baylor just destroyed them, and UC Davis, they didn't really destroy anybody, but they went on the road and beat UT Martin. They went on the road and beat the other teams in the ECAC. So UC Davis is good. So right now, I think they're a little bit better than Baylor, but Baylor is still good. I really wish UC Davis and Baylor could have faced each other at a neutral site. That would have told us definitively who's better between those two, but we didn't get that, and so we're just kind of having to use the transitive property and try to figure out who's better. Right now, it's UC Davis. And number 10 is Baylor. So, yeah, some of y'all don't like Baylor. Hey, I don't know. Baylor's still good, y'all, all right? They're going.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
On the road, and they're still winning points, so they're looking good, and they've actually gotten better as the season has gone on, which is what you want. I mean, maybe they'll show up and upset Oklahoma State. It could happen. Oklahoma State is trending down right now, and Baylor is kind of bouncing along where they've always been, but they could upset them. We'll see. All right, well, that's the top 10 in the dual discipline. Now we're going to look at the single discipline. All right, number 1 is Lynchburg. I have been solidly in favor of Lynchburg having the top spot here for weeks and weeks. It's very rare in my rankings this year that Lynchburg was not number 1. And frankly, I'll tell you, what's really difficult with the single discipline is you've got the 2 conferences there, and most of the teams don't ride outside of those conferences. So we don't have as much data to go off of. So I get it. I understand why the NCEA is a little wrong on their rankings of the single discipline teams, because they're just looking at who beat who, and they're not really thinking about, well, this group of teams doesn't really have a lot of crossover with this other group of teams. And so that's why you get results where you might have Dartmouth up at number 1 for a week or two, and it's like Dartmouth is, at least their resume is not the best resume. Lynchburg's resume is number 1 resume, so there you go. Number 2 is Sweetbriar. Okay, so I have been telling y'all for the last couple of weeks that really the second best team and the 6th best team, there ain't a lot of difference between those, and I'll stand by that. Sweetbriar is number 2 right now, but any of these next couple of teams could beat Sweetbriar at a neutral site. Sweetbriar did not start off the season very good in the fall. They've gotten better, so good job to the Vixens there. Their resume has a few more neutral site or road wins than everybody else, but again, a lot of teams don't ride very much, and so they don't have as many opportunities. So anyway, all that to say, Sweetbriar's number 2, and if you ain't got them number 2, I guess I can live with that, but you better have Lynchburg number 1, okay? No matter what you do, put Lynchburg at number 1. Number 3, College of Charleston. Okay, so right now, Charleston looks really good, but they've had some ups and downs as well. And again, are they better than the other teams right now around them? I don't know. Maybe they're better than Sweetbriar. They could beat Lynchburg if everything broke right. So I don't know. There's a lot of parity this year, and it's going to be interesting to see how conference tournament season goes, because a lot of these teams are good, and there's going to be 2 or 3 good teams that do not make it down to Ocala this year. All right, number 4, Sacred Heart. The Pioneers are having their best season ever. You could make a case that they should be number 2. I don't make that case. I think they're number 4. But again, they don't ride as much as Charleston and Sweetbriar and Lynchburg, so we don't have as much data to go on. I wish they rode a little bit more, then we could see for real, how good are they compared to some of these other resumes. It's a bit isolated with them right now, with the teams they choose to ride against, and that's just the way it is. Sacred Heart's number 4. Number 5 is Dartmouth. So I have the green down here at number 5. They did not look good this past week. We would have expected them to go on the road and get a win against Centenary. They didn't do that. So normally I don't penalize teams for losing on the road, but they really should have won this one. And there are other teams that could have gone on the road and gotten that win, and Dartmouth didn't do it, so they bounced down to number 5. But they stay ahead of number 6, Bridgewater. So the Eagles have had a good season, but they're kind of suffering by the same thing that they're winning at home, they're losing on the road, like a lot of teams do, but they don't have anything else to go on. If they had some neutral site meets they could point to or something like that, then I could bump them up. But right now they're kind of stuck at number 6. But if they have a good conference tournament season, they might make it to Ocala. They're good enough. So that's kind of where the demarcation line is. Those top 6 teams are the ones that there's going to be 4 of them that I expect to make it to Ocala. These next group of teams probably won't make it to Ocala, but they've each had high points in their season. Number 7 is Berry. So the Vikings will take their lumps on the road. They look okay when they're at home. Did they have a home meet? I think they had one home meet this year. If they didn't, oh well, forget I said that. But anyway, they're a good team. They get it done. They get some points, but yeah. But it's really close between Berry and the number 8 team, Centenary.
It's a twister! It's a twister!
So the Cyclones, they had a great weekend. They won at home, which again, don't want to get too excited about winning at home, but that was a meet they were not expected to win, and they won it. So good job to them. We'll see. I think they got some more home meets coming up this next week, and we'll see if they can repeat the process. But yeah, they're number 8 right now. And that means that number 9 is Swanee. Yeah, the Tigers, oh boy, this is I guess a rebuilding year for them. They've really taken their lumps, particularly at home. They've given up a couple of home meets. Don't want to do that. They've done that. So yeah, they just can't kind of keep slipping every week a few positions, and now they're back down to number 9 here. Well, not back. They've never been this lowly ranked. So this is in their NCEA history, which again is not long, but this is their most lacking season. I don't want to criticize them too much, but I'm saying this ain't never been number 9 before, and they're number 9 now. All right, well, that's all the rankings for the single discipline teams. And now let's look into, we only have a couple of meets, so we're going to look into the future with some meet previews. We only have 2 meets left. 2 more meets, and the whole darn regular season is going to be over, and then it's going to be conference tournament season. So let's get excited. Both of these are single discipline. All the dual discipline teams are done. They're now getting ready for their tournaments, but we still got a couple of single discipline teams. First off, on Friday, Sacred Heart at Centenary. Will we see another upset? The Cyclones looked really good against Dartmouth. Could they do it again? Well, the stats are still conservative. They're still looking at past performance. They don't have a lot of recency bias like us humans do. Fences is predicted to go 3-2 for Sacred Heart, and flat is predicted to go 4-1 for Sacred Heart. If that happens, that would make the final score Sacred Heart 7, Centenary 3. One thing to keep in mind with these stats, they're all based on your past performance. So Centenary has not had a lot of home meets in their team history. So when you look at their riders' career stats, almost all of those rides that they did were on the road. Typically, a rider does 10 to 20% better at home. So everybody that went up against a Centenary rider until basically last week has had that 10 to 20% bump against them. So these last 3 meets for Centenary, the other team ain't getting that bump, and it's taken a while for the stats to catch up. Anyway, the final score for the stats is Sacred Heart 7, Centenary 3, but I think it's going to be closer than that. I still think Sacred Heart will win, but I think it will be closer than 7-3. Next one, last meet of the season, regular season, College of Charleston at Centenary. The stats think this one will go 4-1 for Charleston in the fences and 3-2 for Charleston on the flat. If that happens, we would see another 7-3 with Charleston winning 7-3 against Centenary. And again, I'm going to say the same thing. I think Charleston will win, but I think it will be close. And again, I think the stats, I don't have any way to account for the fact that all of Centenary's previous rides, except for last week, have been on the road. And yeah, but anyway, that's just how it goes. So let's see here. Final thoughts. I'm getting excited about the postseason. Auburn's going to be hosting the SEC tournament. I did not check to see who's hosting the Big 12 tournament, but regardless of where it is, Oklahoma State's probably going to win that thing. They win it every year. The ECAC tournament is... oh gosh, it's one of them northern teams, I think, hosting it this year. But UC Davis would be the favorite for that, I bet. And then the 2 single discipline tournaments, I'm not sure where those are being held, but we'll talk more about those next week. But yeah, everything is pointing towards the ending here. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're getting there. And it's been a great season. Man, we've had some firsts here where we had, Minnesota Crookston got their first win ever. Centenary got a win here. I think they won some last year, but they got to win this season, which now means that everyone has won this season. It's just been a good season, and it continues to go. We got one more week of the regular season before we get into the conference tournament time. I am your host, Auburn Elvis. Thank you very much for listening, and war horses.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode on the E2C Network. On your way out, I want to remind you to stop by e2cnetwork.com. It's your one-stop shop for all our content across our podcast, YouTube channel, and much more. To stay up to date with us, make sure you're following social media accounts such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. While our content here may always be Auburn sports heavy, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. War Eagle.